Jake's POV. Landfall for the ship never happened. Why would it on a secret mission? Instead, we got a few miles away from land, just enough for us to fly there. The squad was flying low and close to the water, so close I could taste the salt in the air, even through Chariot's windshield. Careful not to be seen, we waited until night, and the ship never came within visual distance of the mainland, the island of Talra. The only light around was the moon, and the faint glow of the runes from Chariot, which I covered with a tarp for now. Captain Giguales placed us into a formation, and forbid anyone from using magic to prevent any risk of detection by patrols. Suddenly, each of us flew in the dark, until a whisper from the captain ordered us to land in the water, and wait for a patrol to pass by. The blue of their feathers blended in with the water, but I had to send Chariot away, and tread water until the captain gave the all clear, which was more difficult with only one hand. If you've never seen a Nume swim, you're missing out, because it is a very funny sight. At first, you might expect them to rest in the water like ducks, geese, but nope, they just float there like drowned parrots. At least their blue feathers blended in, except for Lieutenant Datahu, who had to submerge her white and grey body into water, with only her beak sticking out, while the others used their wings to cover her. This far offshore, the waves were manageable, if a bit tall from the recent storm. Everyone was already wet from the splashing waves, but now we were all dripping. I never saw the patrol, but the captain said it was a squad of 4 flying high. By the time we made it safely and undetected to the shore, everyone seemed tired and looked like wet feather rats. "I smell like the sea," Nine mumbled. "Flying with wet feathers must be hard," I said, pulling my shirt off and wringing it out, using my knees in place of my left hand, and then sending Chariot away. "Indeed, and it makes us too loud," the lieutenant said. "Time for a sandbath, squad." Sandbath was a type of training I watched them do a few times at base. It was a method for quickly drying off, so you can resume flying, or to hide yourself from familiars who track by scent. A few muffled moans echoed out, and they all fell flat to the ground, spread their wings, and flapped them until their whole bodies were covered in sand. It was quite a sight. A minute later, the captain straightened himself out. "All right, squad, summon your familiars and begin recon. 14, you are on watch. Familiar Sentinel, avoid using your flying chariot for this. The foliage here isn't thick enough to hide you, unlike on the island of Sangu. It will stick out too much." "Captain, without his rune creation, he is much slower. Perhaps too slow for recon duty. I suggest he stays in the dugout for now," Lieutenant Datahu suggested. The captain thought for a moment. "Agreed. Suma, you are on watch. 14, summon your familiar once the dugout is finished. Sentinel, you stay in the dugout until it is time to move." "Yes, sir," I said. Immediately, we all got to work digging out a pit underground, far away from the shoreline and hidden in the forest. I made sure to make the sleeping area as wide as possible. The dugout trench in Sangu was miserable and nearly gave me a panic attack getting in and out of it without being summoned. The excess dirt we piled up, and used it and local foliage to blend the entrance into the area. Once that was done, and well hidden, Suma summoned me into the base since the entrance was too small. Inside the dugout, I settled down alongside everyone else, who had already summoned and sent their familiars out. 14 broke the silence first. "So, Jake, or do you prefer Sentinel? Your master calls you both, so—" "Jake is fine. Sentinel is more of a legal name than anything." "Legal name? What do you mean? Do you also have an illegal name?" 14 asked, surprised. "No. What's an illegal name?" "It isn't an illegal name," Suma suddenly shouted, sounding very defensive. "I would never." "I also have been curious about this," Lieutenant Datahu said. Even the captain nodded in quiet agreement. "It's the name my mum gave me, and Sentinel is the name Suma gave me when I became her familiar," I explained, a little confused. "Wait, you were renamed, but you still use your former name rather than your current one?" 14 asked, shocked. Lorik glanced my way, rolled his eyes, and went back to ignoring me. Yeah? I think of Sentinel as a kind of government name here, and Jake as the name my friends call me." "Aside from whatever a government name is, Suma, how did you manage to rename a I mean... 9 started to ask, but stumbled over the word Viking, and glanced at the dirty look I was giving him. A powerful familiar such as Jake is fine, I said. How did you manage to rename Jake? 9 corrected himself. Well, he had no magic when we met. That made it easier, Suma said. Captain Giguales, Lieutenant Datahu, 9 and Lorik didn't react much to that. They already knew. But 14 looked as close to a slapped mackerel as a new-made could. No magic? As in, he could not use spells, or that he simply lacked training? 14 asked. None. My world doesn't have any, I said. But your spells are unbelievable, 14 asked, dumbfounded. Thank you, I said, not sure if it was a compliment. Then just renaming you was enough to give you such powerful manner? Well, I didn't know how to answer him without telling him that I also learned from watching The Memories of a Dragon and a real Viking. No, I just figured it out, really. My world has science, so that helped. Alright, squad. Our familiars should be far enough away to begin recon. Everyone connect with them and begin search pattern 1, Captain Giguales said. I sighed in relief. Suma went outside to keep watch, and everyone else connected to their familiars. Sentinel, if you need to use magic, it should be fine so long as you stay underground. But keep the spell small and simple. You should remain undetectable that way. Only use it if you need to, though. Yes, sir, I said. Would a summoning spell be okay? He said it was, and connected to his own familiar. Everyone took various positions when connecting. Lorik, Captain Giguales, and Lieutenant Datahu were sitting, with the only things denoting that anything was different about them being their glowing eyes, whereas 14 and 9 were laying like dead bodies sprawled out in the dirt. Summoning my bag, I pulled out my phone to listen to music and eat. Turning it on, what I expected to find was a fully charged phone, more food, and a new set of clothes. What was actually inside was nothing. Guess it is pretty late. Or early. She probably hasn't had time to put everything back, I mumbled, and sent my bag back. Now, without anything to do, a nap seemed the best idea.